audience.
Yay!
All right, we've got one more guest. A new friend. We moved, so my wife and I moved here about a year and a half ago from Philadelphia. And one night, after being in our house for a couple of weeks, this guy shows up with his lovely wife, Irene. I can't
Over
see
here.
her. There you are. With a box of crumbled cookies and introduces themselves. And it's so nice to have amazing neighbors. Also, tech startup guy is going to tell you, I don't know what he's going to talk about, but Igor Alinsky, let's give him a big round of applause.
Yeah, good neighbors. It's nice to have good neighbors. That's another story I'll share another time. But Michael actually gave me very specific instructions. He said, don't be funny. So, no, please, you can't. He's gonna get mad at me. So I figured I'll tell you guys a story about our startup because it's a new adventure in our lives, and it's kind of about telling stories. So where this all starts is in Italy, right before COVID. We ended up going, my wife and I and our two daughters, who are teenagers, I think 13 and 15 years old at the time, ended up going to Italy. And we started in Rome. It was, a long flight there. We had to stop in London for 13 hours. It was a whole ordeal. And my wife really tried very, very hard to make sure that she planned out a really nice, rich itinerary, which she did. But when we woke up in the morning to go to that 9 a.m. docent tour through the city of Rome, which we paid so much money for, we could not wake our kids up. We had totally not anticipated what jet lag does to teenagers. And so we ended up waiting until the afternoon, where we missed half of our day's plan. We ended up going out and just walking around. Our next stop on that itinerary was in Florence, where we decided that we were going to download a whole bunch of apps, because there is no way we're going to get the kids to anything on time. We completely did not know the area, did not know how long it would take to get from one place to another, and we ended up downloading these apps that would tell us about where we were. And we felt like the experience left a lot to be desired, because we were in Plaza Pitti, and the app story is a 2-hour story that ends at Plaza Pitti. So we would have to walk 2 hours to get to the starting point of that story. The next stop was Venice. Venice had just gone through what they call acqua alta. The water rises up so high that you can't walk on the streets. They actually put tables out onto the streets so that people can walk on top of them like a platform. The morning we woke up in Venice, my wife and kids were sleeping, and I decided I'm just gonna go out and take a walk on my own. Whenever they wake up, they're more than welcome to come and join. And so I walk out in Venice. Water is splashing, but it's kind of receding, and I'm in this neighborhood. It's about 5:30 or 6 in the morning, so there is no one around. And I'm looking around this neighborhood saying, this shit is old. Am I allowed to curse? I'm worried about if this is age appropriate for this audience. I'm looking around. So I said, where the hell am I? And there was no one to ask. So I went on my phone, I looked up on Google Maps, and it said you're in a neighborhood called Cannaregio, which is also the ghetto. And I realized that I was in a very historic place where a lot of things had happened. I learned that the word ghetto is Italian for foundry, because that is where they used to make the cannons for the war. And said to myself, I want to learn more about this place. So I went to Wikipedia. And I spent about an hour walking around this neighborhood, learning everything there was to learn. But I couldn't actually look at it while I was reading. So I felt really disappointed in that experience, and I said, why don't we build an app that tells people about where they are, wherever they are? And then I said, well, why don't we build an app that not only tells people about where they are, but allows anyone to tell their story about that location. And so imagine having an app where your grandparents had told you stories about where they grew up. And you could hear those stories as you walk through those neighborhoods. And so I figured this has to be an app that can work in your ears without you having to touch your phone at all, pure audio interface, and it would work by Bluetooth into earpods or hearing aids or any type of device that you have in your ears. And then I thought, well, it doesn't just have to be stories, it could be all kinds of things, like audiobooks or podcasts or music or comedy.